I didn't enjoy it quite as much though.
I learned a lot today. Yesterday too.
What, for 2 days?
Yeah, two full days.
And you never know whether to make it or not, or their own or.
You must have gotten the
Retreats.
You're right.
For the day.
For a school like ours, we gotta bring in 25 guys to fill one, position. And, because, they're out there kicking over tires and everybody promising, And then this new thing that NCAA is doing, you can transfer without having to sit. You get 1 free transfer. Well, Walford, they lost either 6 or 8 players out of their rotation at the end of the season. How do you rebuild, especially when it's underclassmen? It's one thing when it's your seniors, another thing when it's underclassmen. And so, I was talking to their coach, and he said, they're going crazy because they're trying to recruit. And, anyway, basketball is going to look a lot different going forward. I think in NCAA for this, not having the city year.
That's what I hear too.
Yeah.
Did we anger you? Okay. Oh, and you're here.
See it up there.
I think I'll go out for basketball. I could probably run down the court once. I know one thing, you would take care of your grade better than some of my players.
You talk about running down once, I thought you were bragging over there.
I am. I could run down the court one time.
She'd outdo me.
I didn't say how fast. Are you all going to be in town next week? We're going to. We're back on Monday, but I'm just I didn't.
You're here.
I don't. I've been. Yeah.
Folks, I've got 6:30 and it's time to start the forum. The floor is open for any comments, any public comment at all. Yes, ma'am. Please, to the microphone. Yeah. Like to do that? You think we should? Okay. Do I have a motion, commissioners, to adopt the agenda for the public forum?
I
So
move
moved.
that we adopt the agenda for public forum.
I have a motion from Commissioner Alexander. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Fouché. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The floor is yours. I'm sorry.
My name is Linda Stroop. I live on 105 Kanawha Drive. And I'm here actually to represent two neighbors who couldn't be here. So they drafted me to come and read their questions. So I'm going to start with the question from Meredith Green and Laurie Morgan. And I've got hard copies. She sent an extra one that I can leave with you. Meredith Green and Laurie Morgan reside at 130 Kanawha Drive. Their question was, what is the total to date that the town has spent on the SUP hearings and appeal regarding the proposed lodge? And is there an estimate of further costs of the town before its responsibility is completed?
I just happen to have those figures in front of me. To date, we have spent just shy, well, okay, let me just put it this way. After Superior Court's going to cost us anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. So to date, well, including those $7,000 to $10,000, it's going to be either $121,555 or $124,555. That includes all of staff time, and the meetings they attended to, the work they did behind the scenes, preparing the information and so forth. And staff time totaled nearly $15,000. And the attorney fees up until this morning or earlier this morning were $74,000. We got another bill for $25,000. So those are the figures. So it's right at between $121,555 and $124,555.
Thank you for that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel Zorn resides at 112 Kanawha Drive. And he had 4 questions, so I'm just going to read them in order. Question one is, how much is the annual allocation for legal fees for the town? Is that in the budget? It is.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And we usually allocate, would we allocate this year around 40?
$45,000 was budgeted for the fiscal year 21-22 budget for professional services, which includes legal fees.
His second question is, should the board increase, I guess he assumed it was already surpassed what is budgeted. Should the boards increase the amount of this item going forward now that this precedent is set?
Well, I don't know that a precedent's been set, but it's difficult to foresee what might happen legally during a year's period of time. It's just impossible. Well, we would probably increase it just to try to be comfortable. But we'd much rather spend those things on services for the townspeople
Of course.
than on attorneys.
His third question is, what other budgeted events will suffer because of the over expense on this? Where is it coming from?
Ben, do you have any feel for what might be suffering because of it?
Well, one of the budgeted items that was included in this fiscal year budget was the Texas Road Bridge conversion. Those monies are be considered by this board tonight for reallocation to cover attorney fees.
Would you, that's the bad news.
That's the bad news.
Would you touch on the good news?
Well, I was going to defer that to the commissioners if they wanted to comment.
You're fine. Go ahead and say.
Well, the good news is, well, keeping fingers crossed and everything else, the good news is that the town has applied for two different grants, specifically targeting the conversion of the Texas Road Bridge, converting it to a pedestrian bike path. One is through the French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization LAP grant, which Commissioner Tom Whitmer has been very strongly involved in, as well as through the Buncombe County COVID Relief Recovery Fund. The town has submitted a grant for the amount $191,000 for the Texas Road Bridge conversion project.
Sounds promising.
Yeah.
Then
Can I add, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would think even if we were to get the grants on the bridge, that money to take care of the legal fees, we're still gonna have to find it somewhere. And, you know, the way I see it is sometimes it's the fact that we can't get a police car that we might need, or we can't get a new truck that we might need or something. So unfortunately, it does come from what I consider some things that we need.
And I don't think the community understands that. I mean, I didn't until, you know, they asked me to come do this. His fourth question is, if the town is not directly sued, why start the tab on legal fees? I understand paying for initial consultation. Ongoing fees are confusing unless the town is in active litigation.
Okay, I'll try to answer that one, Ben, and you chime in. But first of all, we had an attorney who worked with the Board of Adjustment to make sure that they did everything legally. They did everything correctly, just in case it ended up going to a superior court. So he trained them and he worked with them, didn't influence them, but he just told them what to look for in the information and what was relevant and, you know, what, if someone had standing or not to be able to protest it or whether they did things of that nature. So that, and during that long session, toward the end of it, we had a litigating attorney sit in so that when she went to Superior Court, she would be very, was said and done during those sessions so that she could defend the town of Montreat. When we go to Superior Court, the plaintiffs are really questioning what the Board of Adjustment did, which are town volunteers, and they're questioning the ordinances that are in place and how we interpreted those ordinances. That's why we're defending it in Superior Court. Okay.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir, you are correct. And the town's been put into a position where we're representing our Board of Adjustment in the decision that they made. So we're.
Just bring it closer to-
And we usually have to put our mouth right on the,
Okay,
yeah.
can you hear me now? Okay.
Because I think the notion out there is that this is between MRA and this group that's suing. And I think this has been shocking to a lot of us, that the town is having to put the bill for some of this. And I think that it's good that this is becoming public information. Thank you very much.
By the Board of Adjustment, then that is an opportunity for someone to come in or go before the Board of Adjustment and say, no, y'all interpreted the variance, y'all interpreted
Yeah,
the
I've served
law
on
wrong.
it. I've
Well, would
paid
you-
my dues.
Well, would you
Yeah.
like to do it again? We have an opening.
Listen, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your service and thank you for your questions. Anyone else? Yes, Gracie.
Good news. And I would like to thank first our mayor for deciding again to have a mayor's monarch pledge. I had brought you wings in my car, but decided I would not bring them in. This is a serious matter, and I didn't want you to be embarrassed, Tim. I love my wing,
thank
and there
you
was
for
even
that.
an antenna thing that you can wear, but you don't have on the monarch colors, but you're going to be commended and you're a star because you're going to be the first to be at the program and presentations next a week from Saturday, April 23rd. It's after 2 years, we have our wonderful native plant sale. And every one of you have been able to give me a lot of support, and I'd like to thank Tom Whitmer with the communications and giving me the links and the Montreat Minute, and Angie helping me with so many things as well as alerting all of us about what the Monarch Pledge is about. And that is why I'm here, just to say, please come. Many of you are volunteering. And welcome back, Kitty. I'm going to get back in touch with you. She's now our environmental commissioner. But we are going to be convening and talking at our first meetings about what your pledge is saying. And that is to be sure that we have expanded and launched a better invasive species removal. Also planning to maintain the monarch pollinator friendly demonstration garden. We will have one at the City Hall. I'm working with people within the beautification committee in Black Mountain. We're trying to link with them. They have pollinating gardens at the community center. If we can get as many milkweeds to Montreat, and if there's not enough sun, we're going to take them to the sunny side of Black Mountain. Monarchs do not know where they're flying, whether they're in Montreat or Black Mountain. Now, for the City Hall, the prominent area is the rain garden. And so Tom and I have worked with that, and we're going to be bringing some botanists in and watching the little creatures, meaning the plants, come up and see what's what. I'd like to commend what was done this past yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, with the beautiful mulching, and commended Barry with his group, Barry Priestman. And we're all going to be hosting, of course, the plant sale, and we are all about monarchs on the 23rd. You will have a presentation by a lady from Hendersonville, and she is from Milkweed Meadows Farm, and it's in Fruitland, North Carolina. And it's Kim Bailey, and she's a former dairy farmer, but she now grows and sells milkweed. That is the only host plant that a monarch munches on. All the other butterflies like everything else. That's why they're in such danger, because of the lack of the growing of more milkweed. And she has had many adventures, including going to Mexico and seeing the winterization of the monarchs as they are wintering there. How monarchs know where to go and when to go is in another one of the nature treasures that we are still enjoying. The butterfly flight wings are going to be sold for children with the help of some of the discussion we have. Ben said, we know we're selling plants, but we're also educating young children and also giving them something fun to do and play. I'd like to also thank our past chairman from Amy and Mason. What is your last name? Manson Blake. Yeah, Mason and Amy have helped us with signs and support. Jane has too. Kent, you're going to be with us, so we want to thank you, and I would look forward to seeing everyone Saturday very early. You're on at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
What colors would you like me to wear if I'm going to put on a headdress or whatever
Well,
I'm doing?
you know, the
on
black
wings?
is very, very good form,
Okay.
because we're going to have a picture taken with you with the wings. So
Okay, well, I didn't want to.
we may even have
clash
this.
with the wings.
Well, it's, you know, a monarch is black, orange, and a little yellow. Yeah.
Yep, I can't wear orange, but I can wear black.
Well, okay. Just,
I'll be
Okay.
there.
you just be there and be a black bee.
Thank
Not
you.
often he gets to wear wings.
There's no halo.
Darn.
Anyone else?
Good seeing you again.
I was debating with myself whether to talk now or later. I'm going to go now and save you the time later. My name's Brad Hester. I live at 192 Mississippi Road. And I need to say this, what I'm going to say is I'm chair of the tree board, and I touch on issues having to do with the tree board. I just want to be really clear. I'm not here on behalf of the tree board. This is personal comment and thoughts and concerns that I have. And I've written out things here that I will pass on to Angie to hopefully attach to these minutes, because I know I can get kind of hyperbolic in my way of speaking. So the agenda today includes a question of adopting the Arbor Day proclamation for the national plant sale, the native plant sale, and the Arbor Day celebration, which is on the 23rd, as we said. We tend to emphasize the native plant sale and Arbor Day celebration. You know, it's kind of like the emphasis is on the plant sale, and not a lot gets said about the Arbor Day celebration. Although today you're being asked to approve and adopt a proclamation for Arbor Day. But I want to remind everyone that it's the relationships that the town has with organizations around the state and the nation that in part are responsible for bringing this community to the attention of the people about our presence and what we're doing. And this membership in the Arbor Day Foundation, I guess it is, and the Tree City USA, which helps put us on the map. Another relationship that we have is a relationship with the American Chestnut Foundation, which Montreat joined last year at a kind of a basic level. And part of the budget that we're asking for from the tree bunch is to continue with that membership in the Chestnut Foundation. It's a very valuable thing, and it does promote the relationships of the town to that, plus having to do with really everybody's future. So the iconic chestnut represents much of what we treasure here in our little valley. Although the majestic giants of a century ago are not to be found, many of those exact same plants still exist here, setting up shoots periodically, which can survive sometimes even for decades and produce seed. And those seeds represent a valuable resource of plant genetic material that the American Chestnut Foundation is hoping to use as time goes on. So when that moment comes, the opportunity to decide about continuation with the American Chestnut Foundation, I really do urge you to say yes to that. The tree board budget is not very large. The biggest piece is the membership of the foundation, and yet I think it's very much money well spent. My concerns about trees and is environmental, and I need to say that just within the last week, the United Nations announced that we're at the very cusp of decisions regarding climate change. There's no longer time to debate the issue. You know, the time is up, and if we don't take action, then we and the whole world will suffer the consequences. And if we don't take action, certainly it's not just Montreat, but it's everybody basically in the world needs to take responsibility for their piece of the environment. Failure to act will result in a devastation. So what can Montreat do, little Montreat? Well, just as an example, science has determined that old growth forests, and an old growth forest takes an amount of carbon out of the atmosphere that if you compare a tree that's an old tree today, which a number of the trees in our valley are, and compare it to the first 50 years of that forest's life, the amount of carbon taken out in that the last 50 years, or say the next 50 years from today, is many times what it did in the first part of its life. Just because as a tree gets bigger, there's more material, and that material is largely carbon. So it's been determined that by keeping old growth forests around, the forests have the ability, the potential of removing almost the equivalent of all of our emissions, our carbon emissions, just by the growth of the forests. So rather than when people start talking about bulldozing the trees, there's another concern that you should be paying attention to. So in the other side of the way is just think about the contribution Montreat can be made. We've got several thousand acres of trees, many trees 100 years old or more, and the amount of carbon out of the atmosphere just from this little area really could be really significant. So my request for you people, I know that you're talking about form of government. This is one of the big issues on your thing. You're also talking about strategic plans or comprehensive plan, I guess is the phrase that's being used for that. In every decision that you make, and in the design of the programs that you're looking at, there needs to be room for the environment. There needs to be a point where every decision that is made through this town, you consider as a primary issue the environment and the impact that it may have on the future of not only Montreat but broader things. So that's basically my point. My poorly written notes here, I'll hand on to Angie if anybody just wants to see that broader stuff. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you serving on the tree board and chairing that right now in stands. We do appreciate you taking over the helm of that. Anybody else? Seeing nobody jumping up, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn for about the next 7 minutes. Have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Widmer. They'll have a second. Have a second from Commissioner Otto. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carried. We're adjourned.
Yeah. John Casper's book yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Good. When do I get mine?
When you order. What about- Did you order it from Chapel? I bet he'll get yours early. That you can get it.
He did it over Gateford. Presentation Gateford 2 years ago. For the adult summer class. So you started reading. Hey, Ezra. What? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, we did none of it finances today, and I told Angie I wanted to sit down with Darlene and just ask her a few questions. Back row, way back there, that's Nikki Otto, Kent's wife. I don't know. I'm not sure she was here. She might have been, but I don't recall that she was.
Commissioners, I've got 6:59 if you want to start heading for your seats. We got 1 minute. I saw Tom, Jane, need to get started here.
Somebody got a mask for her, it's,
Folks, I'm going to call the regular council meeting of April 14th into session and call everybody to order. If we'll stand and face the flag, say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Commissioners, you have seen the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to adopt the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor's communication, that's me, isn't it? We discussed this a little bit in the open forum, but I want to make it a part of the public, of the permanent record. Earlier today, I think before we got the mail, our attorney fees were $74,000. Well, we got another bill today for $25,763. I had Darlene dig in and find out how much it cost to have Angie at all those meetings and the work she did. Alex Carmichael, our town administrator, in all those meetings and all that she did, and Scott Adams, our zoning administrator. That totaled up to $14,792. When we go into Superior Court, which we are, that'll cost anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 is the estimate. So after Superior Court, it'll either cost us $121,555 to $124,555 of taxpayer money. And we weren't suing the town of Montreat, is what was said. Okay. Consent agenda. You want to cover that for us, Ben?
Stated in your agenda pack.
could you pull it in close?
Thank you. I'm sorry. Staff would ask that the commissioners consider adopting the minutes for the town council public forum meeting, as well as the town council meeting minutes dated March the 10th.
So moved.
Have a motion. Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion and the second signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are adopted. Do you have any items on your communications?
Yes, sir.
Ben?
I would like to
Please.
reiterate the comments made earlier in the public forum that the town of Montreat has submitted 2 grant applications referring to the Texas Road Bridge conversion. Those grant applications have been submitted to the French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization under its LAP grant program for a total of $191,000. The commissioners will take action, or will have it on their agenda for consideration, a portion of that or referring to that LAP grant in a succeeding agenda item. Also, the town has submitted a grant application to Buncombe County under its COVID relief funding grant program for the amount of $191,000 also.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate, and I know the commissioners appreciate your quick turnaround in getting those applications in. And appreciate Commissioner Widmer's work on the one from Land of Sky. Thanks, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, all the commissioners have received the administrative report on the administrative department, finance, planning and zoning, police, public works and water, sanitation, and streets. Any questions and or comments on any of those?
Yes, it's Barry around.
Yeah, Barry, there.
Hello, Barry. Sorry. I thought I seen it. Can you just educate us again on what's going on up on near the swimming pool, below the swimming pool, on the corner where you've been?
Yes, sir. I have talked with Jesse from CDC, and I am awaiting results for plans for the Gabion basket so we can see what that's going to cost us. They're going to do a subsonic drill right next to the bank because we weren't able to drill or dig with the machines. So they're going to actually drill down and find out where bedrock is, because they're going to try to design the best way to keep that from what they called scouring, like what Graybeard did. They're going to try to see if we can get the bedrock and stop that from happening again, if that's the way we choose to go. So right now I'm really awaiting on Jesse to get back from vacation. So-
How is it holding up? I know y'all spent a lot of time, a lot of hours sort of securing it as best we can.
Right now, it's holding up pretty good. If we've got big storm or big rain events projected, we'll go up and just make sure everything's kind of buttoned up. It's getting about time for us to replace the waffles that run down through there. They're showing some decay, so we'll be replacing them pretty soon. And like I say, as storms are predicted, we're checking on it. So right now, we're holding pretty good.
Well, thanks for putting the Band-Aids on it.
We're waiting on him.
While you're here, Texas Road Bridge, there's been a lot of talk about it, especially lately, and with Mason and his committee and such. It's still being used as a walking bridge. Is that proper and okay?
Yes, sir. I reviewed the latest NCDOT report when they done the bridge inspections. That was in June of 2020, I believe. And that bridge is actually registered with NCDOT as a pedestrian bridge. And it lists in there to be closed to vehicular traffic. But in several places through that report, it refers to that as a pedestrian bridge. And so goes the ratings and the inspection report. As you follow through it, you'll see.
Great. Thanks very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Barry while he's up? Okay, thanks, Barry. And thanks to your crew for all y'all do.
I do have a question of David. I see him standing out in the hallway.
Let me mention this while Barry's here, though. Y'all will be working Monday picking up garbage, right? And y'all use Easter Friday or Monday as a floating holiday that y'all. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks, Barry.
David, on your report, a couple things, if you don't mind. I noticed that with regard to traffic stops, there were 22 for this month or last month, and 57 the month a year ago. That's a 62% decrease, almost a 62% decrease in traffic stops. Have we got good drivers now over this time last year, or
Absolutely, showing
backing off a
effectiveness.
little bit, or what?
Showing effectiveness. I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure. Probably a couple of different factors. We were at full staff this time last year, if memory serves, whereas we've been down. And honestly, just lack of certified radar operators, speed measurement instrument devices in the vehicles. So combination of things, honestly.
Okay.
Commissioner Whitmer, can I weigh in? Just, I will say that I think through a lot of your efforts working with the college and what I see being on the college campus quite a bit, I do not believe there is a coach on that campus that does not speak into their teams as far as their driving and showing respect for this community as well as the Black Mountain campus. So I don't know how much effect that is having, but I do know that it is drilled into these student athletes quite a bit to, that, hey, you're in the community, it's 20 miles an hour, don't speed. So,
Well, thanks for your efforts on that. And tell the folks to keep at it. One more thing, and I think you've explained this before, but maybe you can explain definitions. The very bottom of that report, there are 3 lines with statistics on it: town service, MRA service, and college service. What could you explain that to us? What that is with regard to each of those 3?
Yeah, basically, if you look at building checks, if we were looking at Anderson Auditorium, Dunn Pavilion, things like that, that's going to be tagged in as a MRA service. If it was something to the community, we were going to a residence up here for disturbance call or anything of that nature, that's going to fall under town. Calls for service, again, that's going to be divided. If it's something we're responding along with EMS or fire to Anderson Auditorium, assembly in, something like that, MRA. Sometimes a little bit of both. If it's like checking the parking at the trailheads, because that affects the town, the causation is the MRA because it's their draw.
Okay,
from the,
so
trails.
so last month you all did 210 checks for MRA. Is that that's what the number was? So that's for individual checks for MRA buildings and operations. And likewise for the college. College was not very high on 4. But that's a good service that you all provide and the town provides. Thanks.
Dave, let me ask you, you said something about building checks. So would it be listed twice under building checks and under MRA if you check the MRA building?
Yes. It would show the activity, the building check. We have a drop-down menu on the spreadsheet that we use, and it's going to have a variety of things, whether it was a fire alarm, burglary alarm, parking issue, traffic stop, building check, commercial, building check, residential, so on and so forth. So you have that classifying what the action was or what the nature of the call was, and then a further column out is going to differentiate whether it's specifically for the town or the MRA or college. Or again, sometimes you see some overlap on both.
Back to Dave. Any other questions on any of the other reports, commissioners? Okay, hearing none this time, the floor is open for public comment on any item. Anybody? Seeing nobody move, we'll move on to the next item. Under old business, we have nothing. Under new business, we've got plenty. First item under new business is consideration of public works hearing regarding public hearing, not public works hearing, public hearing regarding change of town of Montreat charter from mayor council to council manager form of government. Okay. Do I have a motion on that, commissioners?
Charter from mayor council to council manager form of government.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second from Commissioner Alexander. Discussion? And/or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying the same. Ayes carry. Motion is adopted. Ben, I guess we'll need to set a date for public hearing on that then, won't we? This is today? Okay, where is it? Is it on the agenda or is this it? Okay. Any comments on us going to a town manager form of government?
I've got a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
I've just spent 2 days in a seminar presented by the North Carolina League of Cities, League of Municipalities, and the North Carolina School of Government. And one of the things that was impressed upon me as part of that seminar, 2-day seminar, which was an excellent seminar. Was one of the things North Carolina actually leads the nation in is the number of its municipalities, a percentage of municipalities that have adopted the town manager, a form of council manager form of government, and stressed that particularly in North Carolina, both large and small, but particularly a lot of the larger towns in North Carolina have adopted it because it's simply so much more efficient. There just were a number of comments that continue to reinforce to me that we're making the right move by switching to this form of government. I think it's in the best interest of citizens.
Thank you, Commissioner Blake. Any other comments?
I think Mason's comment, along with what we've talked about before in earlier months, and the information that was provided, having read that, then I agree with Mason, this is a good idea.
Thank you, Commissioner Fouché. Other comments from the commissioners? Come on up.
Wade Burns, 211 Virginia Road temporarily. Wade Burns, 211 Virginia Road temporarily. A couple more weeks. I've been here 23 years. We had a major upheaval, brought most of you into the office of serving this community. And there have been issues through the years that I think would not have happened with town manager, council form of government. It takes a lot of politics out of running the town. And one of the things that I think sort of got away from us was the whole issue of how the spring thing happened and so forth. That if the right managed form of government, you're less likely to have everything thrown in your shoulders.
Thank you, Wade. Anyone else? Any other comments? Brad?
I may have just not been paying attention, but I wasn't aware that you're considering this until I saw the agendas this month. Has that been announced?
Yeah, a couple of meetings ago, we started discussing it and talking about it and announced it. Yeah, that's why we set a public hearing
That's
tonight.
my oversight. How much, I guess, what is your sense then about how the community, how much of the community actually knows about this move? As it is, I'm not necessarily against it, but I think that a significant change like this does need to be really well before the public attention. And the impression right now is, okay, let's have a hearing. Okay, now we're having a hearing. But there's nobody in the meantime, in the intervening 2 minutes, that nobody in the community was informed about that now is a time of the hearing. So
That's an assumption on your part, Brad. I
And it
think
may be.
everyone has been informed. I think the number of people here shows that they support what the commission is doing. And it was announced in the Black Mountain newspaper too.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, could I add that at the prior meeting of the regular town commissioners, March 10th, a resolution of intent was passed by the commissioners, setting the date for the public hearing with the intent to consider the change of the town's charter from a mayor council form of government to a council manager form of government. So there was a legal document that was adopted at the prior meeting, setting the stage for tonight's public hearing.
And so I don't want to dwell on this too much. I think I pay attention to the things that come out. Apparently, I have missed a good bit there. And I'm wondering and how many people have had it just gone by, you know, so I just wondered if and if your desire is to really know that the communications with the community are well, you know, are going well, I think it would be good to check that out periodically.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? Any other comments from the floor? Motion has been made and it has been seconded. All those in favor of the motion to consider to change the form of Montreat's charter of government from a mayor council to a council manager form of government.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I apologize for interrupting. We'll need to close the public hearing in that regard, and no action can be taken until next month's regular meeting.
Fine.
And then the council will consider an ordinance change at that time, per the
Okay.
North Carolina General Statute.
what do I do with the motion that's on the floor?
The only motion you should have is to close the public hearing.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Commissioner Alexander has moved to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Otto. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item B, consideration of French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization, LAPP grant application, local government committee to 20% matching funds. And do I have a motion to move on this?
And Mr. Mayor, if I may add, if the county commissioners do go forward with this, this is part of the LAP grant that was mentioned earlier in yours and administrator's comments. But a 20% portion would equate out to $38,200. No, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the French Broad River MPO LAP grant application and 20% matching funds.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Fouché. The motion was by Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Item C, consideration of establishing a committee and setting a special meeting regarding hunting dogs within the town limits.
I can speak to this. Permission.
Please.
At the last meeting, we circulated a memorandum that I prepared and which again was suggested some things that the town could consider in dealing with the dog situation that we encountered and some ordinances, again, only for discussion only. And what I suggested then is we establish some sort of workshop session that involved representation from the community as well as from the Mount Mitchell Bear Hunting Club and the North Carolina wildlife officials. And it's also been suggested that we include the MRA because they're the major landowner in town in that. And I talked it over with Ben, and this sort of committee format was sort of the best way to get to a workshop session that all the commissioners could attend. We could set up a meeting with, I'm not saying avoid a public hearing, but get a workshop type situation where you can have a free and open conversation with folks at the table. This was what was recommended by Ben, Tom as well, and that's what this is for. It's not to adopt anything, it's to talk. It's to, establish a collaborative effort to come up with something that makes sense for all the parties involved. So that's what the quote committee is set to do.
Questions of Mason by commissioners?
your idea was to have a one-time discussion to get input. What the best-
And that's what this is. And what we've done is we've selected representatives from the three representatives from the public, a representative from the state, a representative from the Bear Hunting Club, a representative from MRA will meet, quote, as a committee with this board, also present, to talk about it. We'll take the results of this, and that's it. It's one meeting. There's not a committee report necessarily. It's just a discussion, and then this board can take the results of that, and do whatever this board decides. I understand the committee is the trouble in the room.
If we proceed, is there the possibility of striking the words establishing a committee and from the motion? So it would be consideration of setting a special meeting regarding hunting dogs within the town limits?
Is that okay with you, Ben?
Whatever the commissioners decide, that will be okay with staff.
Okay.
A motion has not been made yet, so it's still open.
So Commissioner Blake, if anyone's gonna write an ordinance or put something down, I have all the respect in the world that you're gonna do it and do it the way that's beneficial for the town. And my hesitation, and I'm gonna start backwards, I'm gonna start with Commissioner Widmer's comment. Committees do scare me because a lot of times they take a life of their own. And all of a sudden now a committee, just blows them up into something we, not always, but something that we might not desire. And I guess sort of my stance on this right now is the fact that we've had two meetings where the bear clubs have come in. I believe that the MRA had some comment in that. I don't know to what extent, but the fact that we have spoken about this twice, and I kind of a simple guy, but I look at it in the fact that we've asked the bear club twice, made it very clear that, hey, we'd like for you to handle this. We'd like for you to police it. My understanding as they stood there, they said, we're going to take care of this. So I just sort of in the fact that if I addressed you as a neighbor, I'd like to see if we can work that out first before we take this step. I don't have a problem with what you're suggesting here. I'm just not sure that, in my opinion, that this is the time for it. Because again, in the 15 years I've been here, I still stick with the fact that we had one incident, which was this year. And then I've seen it maybe two other times where there were some dogs running. And again, not trying to split hairs on that, but I just think that we've addressed them as neighbors, the Bear Club. Again, we have a great relationship with them and the fact that we use their trails. And I think we want to try to keep this as clean as we can. And so I'd like to give them the opportunity to address it before we continue down. But again, that's just.
Sure, I understand, and I appreciate your perspective. Again, the committee is not my word. I'll make a motion that leads out committee. Let me just say, respond. That this is not to, this is to make sure we include the bear clubs in and make it collaborative and give them the chance to say, okay, well, what can you do? In other words, approach it deliberately and not just assume it's never going to happen again. My problem is that there's nothing that we can do about it right now. In other words, all we can do is give first a verbal warning when something happens, then we can give a written warning, and only the third occurrence then we do anything about people violating our ordinance, which all this is already against our ordinance. You can't run dogs loose in this town. That's already against the law in Montreat. It's the question of, can we enforce the law to protect our citizens? Right now, we can't, because we give a verbal warning, then we get a written warning. And by the way, once a year passes, they get another verbal warning and written warning. They get 2-3 bites every year before we can issue a citation. I think the safety of the children that were involved in this incident bothers me. It's bothered me from the beginning, and I want to approach this in a way that the hunters are absolutely on board. And I do think that they can do a lot. But let me just make a motion so we can get this under discussion, and I'm just going to revise the motion to read consideration of setting a special meeting involving three designated representatives of the citizens of Montreat, one designated representative of the Mount Mitchell Hunting Group, one designated representative of the MRA, one designated representative of the North Carolina Fish and Wildlife, I don't know the exact
Wildlife
name.
Resources.
Wildlife Resources, as well as a advisory group to this body, and for us to use that single meeting to discuss what, if anything, and it may be nothing, we decide to do in terms of modifications to the ordinance.
That's a long motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
You know, an attorney made that motion. That's why it was so long.
Gets paid by the word.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
I just wanted to comment on a couple of things that you said, Ken. I hear what you're saying, and I know you and I have sympathy for the situation. I liked your analogy of the neighbor, but I'll extend that analogy and say that the bear hunters are that neighbor, and we do have a really good relationship with them. What I'm concerned about is those non-neighbors who come into our neighborhood and we don't have control over. I think that we heard from the Bear Club representatives that their guys weren't involved in those incidents. And by the way, just for the record, there were at least 3 on public record, plus a few more. So it was more than just one. But they all agreed that it was guys coming over this ridge that weren't members of the Bear Club. Those are the ones that we need to control, and we really need their input as to how to control them.
And with that, again, Commissioner Blake, I'm just a produce salesman, so I know I don't want to get tangled with arguing with a lawyer there. But again, when it comes to the safety of the kids, I'm right there. I think you're 100% spot on. I guess I'm just trying to figure, again, as we've addressed this and we've addressed the Bear Club that's here, and directly, I talked to them, I said, you guys need to police that. If we're going to have I don't care what we put on paper, if you got some rogue bear hunters out, that's going to be tough. I understand you're trying to put something in that's, hey, we're going to make it painful. I just don't want us to put something down. Again, I tend to be hesitant on any new ordinances, but I want to make sure that our relationship with the bear hunters, who we need, especially as we have more and more bears coming into our community, that they don't take it that we're trying to poke them in the eye right now. And I understand what you're saying. Hey, we just want to sit down and make sure everybody's on the same page. That part I can get on board with. I just want to be very, very careful before we start writing ordinances that really irritates a good group of people.
Right.
On a limited scale of when I've seen it in my 15 years.
And I appreciate it, Commissioner, and I want to assure you, this is intended to do just what you say. This is not to poke them in the eye. And we don't want to. That's the reason they're there. What I'd like to do is to give them some ammunition to go to their friends across the way that are the ones that, and again, as Tom said, we don't have a problem with them. They're not causing the problems, but give them something to say, you guys come to Montreat again, here's what they've done. And, and you're gonna have some penalties if you do it. But them know what the penalties are, making sure it's going to be helpful for them, but not hurtful for them. We're not trying to create a problem, trying to solve it. And I don't want to create a problem for our friends because they're just as important and good friends as you and Tom both indicated. So this is not to get anybody upset at us. It's for us to respond and get their cooperation.
So my last comment, as you did reword the motion, basically, just to simplify it here, we're just strictly having a motion here to have folks come together and discuss, period.
That's it.
Okay,
It's-
so whoever we invite there is strictly on a discussion level.
On the discussion level.
Okay.
This is just to put the representatives of the interest groups in the room to get their collaboration, to get their input, so that we can approach this thing, whatever we do, with a complete body of knowledge, and not to do it in the strict confines of a public hearing where we can't be at least informal and
Okay.
exchange information. Forward.
Very good.
When I was doing a little bit of research or just looking more into bear hunters, I noticed on the wildlife information where they were talking about ethics for hunters. And when you read through that, it seems like it's what we're talking about and what we want. So I recommend that we look at that too.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the discussion. Any other comments and or discussions? Hearing none, we've got this motion. I don't want to have it reread. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Thank you. Thank you all for the good discussion. Item D is consideration of a bid proposal regarding Texas Road Pedestrian Bridge. We did put out bids on Texas Road, didn't we, Barry? And this is the bid we got in. You got the money? Yes, sir. On March the 1st, Angie helped me put out an RFP to contractors for the Texas Road Bridge. It went out to over 400 vendors and contractors. I met with 7 contractors on the site. This contractor that we got a bid from never came to the site. I never met with them. I did email a time or two, but that was it. One of the contractors is all the way from Florida. So it gets out there, it spreads, our work. Like I say, this only had this one bid, and it was for $317,000, and that's without the pillars with the bears on top on that drawing. Ben had showed me. I didn't get that drawing until we had just a few more days left in the RFP process. And this is for the phase 1 portion, and it's broken out just as Mattern and Craig that done the drawings and the provisions spec. It's broken out just like that for that. And This is for the walking bridge.
this is for a walking bridge.
Which Mattern and Craig had estimated to be.
They had estimated it to be roughly 110, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
So
I'll start this off. I'll move to defer the
Or
bid in the
deny.
amount of 317,000.
Deny.
Deny, defer. Yeah, see, I'll go with either one with Secra Incorporated.
Have a motion from Commissioner Otto. To have a second. Have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Discussion.
I just want to make sure it's to deny.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying
A little discussion. Barry, this just personally, a little thorn in my side. I've been here for 15 years, and about the time I came on council, so when that bridge was converted from a vehicular bridge to pedestrian. That being said, and I think I could even speak for former Commissioner Allison Lentz, we'd love to see that pedestrian bridge get done.
yes, sir. I
My
agree.
question to you is, do you have some things up your sleeve and ways that we might can address this, get this in motion?
I have some ideas in mind of
Okay.
doing quite a bit of the work in-house, the demolition stuff. Now, you get into the fine carpentry stuff where, we're going to get into some fine tuning and making stuff look good. I don't know how far we'll go there. I am looking into the demolition stuff, but I would like to see a few things. This is entirely up to y'all. One, I do have another bridge inspection coming up in June. This is one of the bridges that's on that list, the first one. I would like to see what them 2 engineers find. just to see, because I have found more damage than what's on the Madden and Craig report. Two, I would like to see, you know, how our funding is. How our funding is, what we've got, how far the crew and myself can go is what I'd like to see, because, you know, with everything we have going on in town too, I need to figure out how I'm going to mix this project in with what we're doing.
Totally fair. So I think we
Yes, sir.
all here, I think all of us on the commission want to know where we are funding wise. You know, but just to understand too, am I hearing you would like to defer moving forward until after June, once we hear from the bridge inspection? Is that?
I would, getting this email the other day from the bridge inspectors, having their input, I actually think would be a plus. It gives me
Okay.
more knowledge as to what I've got, because they're going to dig into it with hammers and picks.
Okay.
They're going, and I'm actually going to meet them up there whenever they give me a date to actually go with them and look at this stuff. And, you know, then I'd like to talk, you know, see what Miss Darlene comes and y'all come with for funding to see how far we can and what we can do. Yeah. Yes, sir. I know that's coming up in the planning. So.
Good deal. Thank you, Barry.
Yes.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny the bid, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
In favor of the bid? Deny carries. Consideration of adopting Arbor Day proclamation.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the Arbor Day proclamation.
Have a motion from Commissioner Fouché to approve the Arbor Day proclamation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion? Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item F, consideration of surplus property resolution.
What we have is a 95 F-Series dump truck that has been sitting over to shop. It has very little miles on it, 33,000 miles, I believe. But from its setting, and every time we get in it to use it, we lose brakes. We have clutch trouble. And it's anywhere from $600 to $900 to fix it. You can get in it, haul asphalt, and before we get back to shop, you don't have brakes. You can put it in the shop, and it's just a repeat process. And right now, while the price of used automobiles is out the roof, and we're not using it, and I need to get it out of my way, it's just a money hole for us. I'd like to, you know, be able to put it up for gov deals and put it in somebody else's home.
Is that the one piece of surplus we're going to get rid of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have a motion, commissioners?
That's I move to approve the surplus property resolution.
Okay. Have a motion from Premier Pro Tem Whitmer.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Otto. Discussion?
Yeah, Barry, what are you going to do without the dump truck? What alternatives do you have?
Well, without that dump truck, now I would like to keep it on the CIP for future years, you know, bump it up for future years for replacement. But we currently have the big sanitation truck was a 2017 model. And we also have the cab over truck that we use as a backup for sanitation. And we can also use it for hauling asphalt and logs and stuff like that. So we still have two trucks that we're able to put into service when we require something like that.
Thanks.
Any other questions of Barry? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Next item on the agenda is item G, is consideration of the 2022-2023 health insurance renewal. Ben?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Board of Commissioners, the staff would ask that the commissioners consider adopting, entering in this contract regarding the health insurance for our staff and employees for the town of Monterey. You'll see the rate in your packet. We'll have to commend our town clerk and our town finance director. They have worked closely over the past several weeks with municipalities' health benefits personnel to have only a 4% increase in healthcare benefits. That's actually almost unheard of in this day and time. I'd like to thank our staff for working with them. 4% increase in the healthcare, that equates out to $400 and some per employee a year. You know, I would say that's remarkable.
It is, and I think they need to negotiate our next attorney fees.
Yes, sir.
You don't really have one. No comments from the public on this one yet.
I move to approve the 2022-2023 health insurance renewal.
Have a motion from Commissioner Otto to approve health insurance renewal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Mason.
Mason. Have a second from Mason Blake. Commissioner Blake. Discussion? Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Item H, budget agenda amendment number 6. Darlene, I believe you're on.
You'll need to come up to the microphone.
Do you want to sit up here?
Thank you, Darlene, for doing that.
You'll have to bring it.
Okay, budget. Oh, is that on? Okay, budget amendment number 6 is moving money to the Graybeard Wall project. We did a complete analysis of our special revenue accounts during this 2021 audit process and found that we went slightly over on the Graybeard Wall. Each project and every expense cannot be over budget. So we're just moving money from streets to this particular project just to bring it in line. So that's pretty much for 6.
And how much is that, Darlene, we're moving?
$4,400.
$4,400.
Yes.
Do I have a motion or questions of Darlene from the commissioners? So we were $4,000 over on the Graybeard Wall,
Yes,
and we need to move money from the streets
correct.
to this project.
Yes.
Do I have a motion, please?
I'd like to move to approve budget amendment number 6 to cover an excess in expenditures on the Graybeard Wall Capital Project Fund.
Have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Discussion? Questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Darlene, you're up on number 7.
Okay, budget amendment number 7 is moving money from the police department to the sanitation department. The separation allowance money is coming from the fact that we had one employee on separation pay that ended December 31st. We had budgeted for the entire year, so that freed up half a year of salaries for that individual, or separation pay, I should say. We're allocating it to salaries, FICA tax. The auto supplies account is the account that we use for gasoline, and gasoline expense has gone through the roof in every department, but especially sanitation, because Barry has so many vehicles and you know, different expenses that apply to gasoline in his department. So that and the dumpster were the 2 areas that were significantly under budgeted. So we're moving money from the police department to cover the dumpster, the gasoline, the salaries and wages, and the FICA that we're moving to is for an employee that is has passed his probationary period and is due for an increase. And that was not budgeted.
How much are we moving from the police department?
It's $10,300.58. And that amount is being split between salaries and wages, FICA, auto supplies, and the dumpster contract.
Good. Any questions of Darlene on this, commissioners?
Yeah, Darlene, I've got a question on the contract dumpster. I see that we're using some of that 10,300 for the contract dumpster. But then I see in the next budget amendment that we're using other monies to put another 5,400 into contract dumpsters. So that's a total of $11,000. Could you explain what's happened with budgeting for contract or reality of expense of contract dumpsters?
Well, Barry can actually, well, he can speak, we work together on this because obviously I didn't just, come up with these estimates. So let Barry tell you about the usage and then I'll tell you about the
Okay,
costs.
thanks.
With the contract dumpster fees, Darlene and I looked at what a couple of months back at what our increases are. We were noticing it was getting hit pretty good. And we have actually increased in our hauls and our tonnage. So that's, and what we did is we just took what we're doing right now, like this month, and we projected it for the next following months to get us through to the end of June. Is what dollar amount you've got. And the reason it has increased is we are increasing on our amount of pickup. We have more people staying.
So I agree with the statement that we've got more people here. There's no doubt we have more people living here. So you're saying it's strictly a tonnage issue and it's not,
The quicker they fill up, the more we're having to come into the dumpster.
but we're not seeing surcharges from the sanitation dumpster. Because I see it throughout my industry, if there's anything transportation related, there are surcharges put on everything right
That comes
now.
out of something different, correct? Like the tipping. I think there's 2 or 3 different things, tipping fees and hauling fees and then the contract dumpster.
Okay.
There was an increase in CWS's cost for hauling the dumpsters away,
Okay.
a slight increase,
Right.
like maybe $4 or $5, but there was an increase.
Okay. But we're still seeing surcharges. So we're getting hit from multiple areas. Okay.
So it looks like
Thanks, Barry.
$25,000 was budgeted.
Correct.
In that account. And in reality, it's going to be 36.5. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
That's a huge increase.
Yeah, it was very much so. What we did was, it was the end of February when we came up with an estimate and we were at 99%. So we had used 99% of the budget by the end of February.
Wow.
And so we projected out, and I know Barry's crew is now limiting the number of holes. They're trying to, because we're paying based on the number of holes plus tonnage. So they're trying to at least have fewer holes and hopefully that will help. So this is very streamlined. That's a very conservative number.
And I guess the same concept holds true for auto supplies, not only in this budget amendment, but the next one as well.
That's right.
That you're not asking for just an additional 2,500. You're asking for an additional $9,100 for extra gasoline expense.
Yes.
Need a motion on budget amendment number 7.
As long as it doesn't go down as we're defunding the police, I can probably support it.
No,
So
this
don't-
is
so don't
with
report that. We're
Dave's
not
blessing.
defunding the police, okay? I move to approve budget amendment number 7 to pay for increased expenses in the sanitation department incurred in this fiscal year.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Otto, second by Commissioner Alexander. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Budget amendment number 8.
Okay, number 8 is pretty much the same thing, adding additional funding to the dumpster account as well as auto supplies, which again is gasoline.
Okay.
And this was money left in streets that we had a little bit of a surplus. And that's where the money is being moved to. So it's a total of $12,000 being moved to the other 2 expense accounts.
Do I have a motion on budget amendment number 8?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve budget amendment number 8 to pay for increased expenses in the sanitation department incurred in this fiscal year.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second from Commissioner Otto. Discussion and or questions?
Barry, Dave, I just did some quick math. I'm assuming, Barry, you've got about 5 trucks running. You've got 3 police cars. I'm roughly running a week, 4, and if you just filled them up one time and they're anything like what my truck is, it's roughly $50 more per tank now. So I'm guessing you're paying 250, you're paying 75 to 125. So just quick math. I'm thinking just between those two departments, we're paying 1,500 to 2,000 more a month in fuel costs now. Is that
Pretty much.
yeah? I mean, that's. Yeah, I mean, that's just real dollars though. I mean, it is, and in a community our size, that adds up, 5 months at 2,000, at $10,000 we didn't expect to have in our budget this year.
So how are you handling next year's budget? For these
One
kinds of
step
items?
at a time. We have to build these costs in. So that's the challenge that we have right now, because these costs are fixed. We can't not have dumpster service. We can't not have gasoline. So it's a challenge, which I'm trying. Ben is trying. We're all working very closely together. And I do have to say that Barry and Dave both have been very cooperative in, lending a hand when they had extra funding to put in other accounts. So it has been a collaborative effort, and Ben has been at the helm of it. So we're really working as a team to try to get this done.
Okay. We got a
I
motion.
just want to make a comment to Commissioner Whitmer's statement. It would really be nice to have a crystal ball when you're
Okay.
preparing an annual budget. But there's a lot of variables involved. And one of the places that you really have to look is at the headlines in the newspaper now. That has such a bearing on our town. And you would think things that's going on 15,000 miles away wouldn't affect the town of Montreat, but they do. So a lot of things is just in the headlines that you have to consider. Thank you.
Angie, I've lost track. Do I have a motion on that one? Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Budget amendment number 8. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget amendment number 9. This does not involve dumpsters, does it?
No.
Or gasoline?
No, we're done with the dumpster.
This is important.
Okay, budget amendment number 9 is taking money that was originally in capital outlay and moving it to some to duplicating and printing, because the printer was not, the monthly fee for the printer was not taken into consideration in the last budget. And our professional services, which is where we pay our legal fees, has gone up substantially. What we estimated so far of what we know is that we would need an additional $80,000, which is why you'll see another budget amendment. We need an additional $80,000 just to get us through what we know is coming in legal fees. So anything over and above that, we're going to have to also address. But for now, 80,000 more is a given.
Okay, do I have a motion on budget amendment number 9?
I'll move to approve budget amendment number 9 to pay for increased expenses in the administration department incurred in this fiscal year.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Otto. Discussion and or questions?
Darlene, that 80,000 that you said you're going to need, is that all for the SUP hearing?
Yes. It's all,
And is that 80,000 part of the 121,000 the mayor was talking about earlier?
yes.
Okay. So it's not over and above. that.
Oh, no, it's part of it.
Thank you.
Have a motion, have a second. Any further questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Budget amendment number 10.
Okay, budget amendment number 10 is taking the remainder of what was left in capital outlay and allocating it to the various departments for payroll. The reason for that is that we have 27 pays in fiscal 22, only 26 were budgeted. So there's an increase in each department. And while the numbers might look a little large for each department, I'm allocating, for example, 14,000 to administration. However, from that 14,000, that's going to include salaries and then portions moved to FICA tax, retirement expense, all the other categories that we need to address with when we're talking about salaries. So it's moving 34,000 from the capital outlay to administration, police, public works, and streets.
Do I have a motion on budget amendment number 10?
I move to approve budget amendment number 10 for additional salary and wages needing to be paid this fiscal year.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Blake. Commissioner Alexander made the motion. Discussion? Questions?
Boy, this is sobering. It really is. We're not having to touch the general fund.
No, not at this time.
That was encouraging. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget amendment number 11.
Okay, budget amendment number 11 is as a result of the bill that came in today for $26,000 in legal fees. We had increased the budget through budget amendment 10 for legal fees for what we thought we needed until, again, we received this additional bill. The positive side of all of this is that the budget money, not the funds themselves, but the budget money is coming from revenues that we under budgeted. So while we under budgeted expenses, fortunate for us, we also under budgeted some of the revenues. So we're now able to take the money we said we needed for revenues and move it to the expenses. And that's why you see the individual accounts such as community service, sale of fixed assets, so on and so forth, that we have an excess, and we're moving that to professional services to pay that additional legal fee.
Do I have a motion on budget amendment number 11?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve budget amendment number 11 for professional services to pay for additional legal fees pertaining to the hotel.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Otto. Questions and or discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Darlene. Darlene, she came with us. She set up an accounting system that governments use to make sure that the money is in the right account. Prior to Darlene getting here, it used to be rather confusing, to say the least. These budget amendments may be confusing, but it's putting the money where it's supposed to be and can be paid out properly without the auditors going crazy. When they audit us, it ought to be an easier trail for them to follow because of Darlene's work. And Darlene, I thank you for that. I really do. Public comment. Any public comment? Floor is open.
Now you can talk, Mark.
Mark, I took it as that. Okay. Public comment, commissioners communication. Anything from the commissioners tonight?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. The next time that you all decide to dress in uniform, I have a blue and white check shirt, if you'd only told me.
Your
plants are different, but it's still blue.
And Wade,
I didn't know.
I-
Jane dressed up. Well, yeah,
Oh.
I just didn't in flocks.
Okay, Kitty, is that the most important thing you had?
That's, yes, my attire was the topic.
Okay,
I've got a couple things.
okay.
I want to reiterate what Gracie said, with giving thanks to Daniel especially, and Barry, as well as Drew, for all of the town hall mulching that they did within the last week. Daniel, as you may know, used to work for BB Barnes, and I said, "Is it like being back at work there?" And he said, "Yeah, same thing." So thank you to them. The other thing that I wanted to let you all know is that tomorrow is a special day. Besides being Good Friday, it's the release, the official release of our resident astronaut, John Casper's book. He has given his story in this book, and it's an amazing story. So I encourage you to go to Amazon, go to Purdue Publishing, Purdue University Press, go to Barnes and Noble. It is available publicly tomorrow.
Tom, do you think maybe you could put some of the companies that you can order from
Sure.
in the?
Yeah. And I'll just say too that John will be doing a book signing as well as a little book talk this summer at the Adult Summer Club. We don't have a date yet.
No, it'll be either the third or the fourth week.
We got ours yesterday. Angie gave it to me.
So this is not what I was going to say in my commissioner's comments, but the first time I met Mr. Casper, I was fortunate enough to have dinner with him, and I was sitting beside him and I put my hand on his shoulder and he was kind of like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just want to tell somebody that I've touched a real astronaut." So, anyway, I do have, on a more serious note, Chief Aaron, Barry and your crew, Darlene, Angie, Ben, sometimes I don't think folks realize this is a family, whether we get along all the time or not, but nor do our real families, but it is a family. And I tell you, it's tough times in the world right now as far as budget wise. And I really do, Darlene, you started it, and I just wanted to follow up. Thank you for all the extra work that all of y'all are doing to try to make this happen for our community. We're trying to serve the community. We're trying to pick up trash. We're trying to keep this place looking good, but we're also trying not to raise taxes. And so I just wanted to commend y'all on that. And I think Mr. Hester's still here. I think your comment earlier, Mr. Hester, just about, does our community hear things? And I know Commissioner Widmer tries to do a good job of getting communications out. And hopefully there's a lot of places to see that. But, there's a lot of things. We spent the last 30 minutes making budget adjustments here because, again, just quickly, anywhere from 12 to 15,000 more in fuel costs in the next 6 months, $125,000 in legal fees. That's a lot of holes we got to fill in the dike here. And, that's the kind of information I want the community to hear, that we're trying. We might not be doing it perfectly, but we're trying to serve this community and not raise taxes. And so again, I commend the staff for the work y'all are doing.
I'd just like to second Kent's comments. The staff has done really a wonderful job. And for those in the audience, the state regulations are very strict. They're very complicated. They're important because they do keep everybody straight. And it's one of the reasons why North Carolina's municipalities are known for being well run. But it's complicated, and Darlene has got to be in charge of that whole process, but she needs everybody's cooperation in order to make it work. And, I just, again, to second Kent's remarks, we really, really appreciate your hard work.
that might be needed for for another purpose. So I've had total cooperation from both Dave and Barry. And as I said, Ben has really coordinated a whole lot of various things for us to our benefit. And Angie, don't let me forget Angie. Oh my goodness. I mean, she probably provides more input than anyone because she's on the front lines. She sees everything that's happening. So her input is invaluable.
Any other commissioner have any more comments? Okay, before we go, before I get all these committees, meetings that are coming up, I do want to thank Gracie for all you do, your committee and so forth. Brad, for what you do with the tree board. Mark, Board of Adjustment, bless your heart. And Wade, Planning and Zoning, thank you for all you do. Okay, upcoming meetings. All these meetings are either at Town Hall or by Zoom. Town offices are closed Friday for Good Friday. That's tomorrow. Montreat Bridge Committee meets Tuesday, April the 19th, 2 o'clock at Town Hall. Native Plant Sale, Saturday, April 23rd, 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock, Moore Center Field. Tree Board, Tuesday, April 26th at 9:30 a.m., Town Hall. Board of Adjustment, Thursday, April 28th, 5 p.m., Town Hall. Land Care, Wednesday, May the 4th, 9 a.m. in Town Hall. Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, May the 12th at 10:30 a.m. in Town Hall. Is there anything on the back of that? Yep. May Town Council meeting, Thursday, May the 12th, 7 p.m. in the, of course, here at Town Hall, and the public forum begins at 6:30. Town offices are closed Monday, May the 30th, in observance to Memorial Day holiday. Do I have a motion to adjourn? And my, yeah, I already said that.
Sorry.
Did you fall asleep? It's that plaid shirt syndrome. Have a motion for Commissioner Fouché to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Alexander. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.